Today we are speaking with a top representative from Ethos, Biosphere. We're covering a wide range of topics. In this interview, the topics are concerning criminal justice reform and credit reform. How would you describe the Ethos initiatives?
Ethos is the holy grail of all monetary and financial systems combined. And it doesn't end there. Its effects are enormous. And that's where its initiatives come into play. The initiatives are simply what needs to be done. What has always needed to be done. And nobody's effectively done it. Certainly not the politicians. Not the wealthy, the influential, the powerful. Nobody. Well, a few people have. Like Kim Kardashian, famously fighting for criminal justice reform. And some other celebrities. And organizations like Charity Water. To bring clean water to people in need throughout the world. But we're talking much bigger, and far more intense effort and results, than those few isolated good people and organizations can possibly affect on their own. Because there is simply far more power when you're dealing with far bigger numbers. And Ethos is about very serious numbers. And we'll have to get to that.
Can you tell us then, just what the Ethos initiatives are?
Simple. To provide utilities, like water, gas, and electric, telecommunications, and services. And then of course, food, clothing, shelter, education, employment, and everything else possible. And not just to people in extreme need. But to everyone. Everywhere. And the Ethos system is entirely capable of doing that. That's how remarkably powerful it is.
So can you tell us how you expect to accomplish all this?
Answers are always simple. Reality is a lot harder. But the fact is, all of the resources already exist. We're just applying them in such a holistic, synergistic, and comprehensive way that things actually get done, because they're compelled to get done. In a fractured world using fractured systems, it's no wonder very little gets done, the least of which by governments. Governments, after all, are the world's largest corporations. Poorly run, and with little to no actual accountability. And yet near endless resources. So they really have had no excuse. And we have no excuse to keep putting our faith and trust in the incompetent and self-serving. We certainly need government. But we certainly don't need what we've been getting, or not getting.
But countries are countries. I mean, what else do we have? Where else can we turn?
Okay. Since we really can't seem to change that. At least not right yet. We simply have to change where we live. And where we actually do our business. By entering into the biosphere. And how that itself will significantly help to have a positive effect on the outside world. And they all want an answer to the serious systemic problems facing not just themselves, but the entire population of the world. They absolutely deserve that. And now, that entire or near entire population will mass migrate with such force and purpose into the Ethos biosphere that it will actually compel the outside world to take notice and fix itself. If it doesn't, it will wither and die. As it already certainly is. In a terrifying way. And because such a massive amount of population possesses immense power, you can be absolutely certain the sheer population of the biosphere will be capable of exercising an absolutely profound and lasting effect upon every sphere of the outside world. If that's not serious and powerful, I don't know what is.
I understand that you are also concerned about the criminal justice system and criminal reform. What can you tell us about that?
The Ethos initiative in criminal justice reform begins at what we believe to be the most critical time, when those men and women get out of prison, and have nothing, except a very bleak and discouraging looking future ahead of them. We often think of criminals as non-persons, people who aren't worth anything. That's probably why many ended up in prisons. But regardless of the why people committed their crimes, we as a society obviously don't want them to continue that path. But to become valuable members of society.
But doesn't the criminal justice system reform them?
Prison isn't reform. It's incarceration. It's punishment, not correction. Calling these prisons correctional facilities is simply to put a deceptive, happy face on a very bad situation. Criminals will tell you, jail is hard time. Prison is easier, but far more dangerous. Danger and pain isn't necessarily reform. And evil environments could turn even decent people evil, ruining them. And ruining their chances of re-entering society as healthy, healed people. Ethos is about health and healing. People. Societies. institutions, systems.
So how do we overcome this? I mean, how does the Ethos system, an initiative, propose to overcome this overwhelming problem?
The problem is, there's no mechanism for that. Until now. With the Ethos initiative, and the system that fully enables a seamless re-emergence into society, by those who have been locked out of it for years, if not decades, and then expected to simply function like normal people under normal circumstances. Like nothing terrible happened to them. It's entirely unfair, unjust, but fixable. And society itself deserves that.
But realistically, how do you achieve this?
Ethos is a profound revolution in monetary generation. Prisoners don't and can't generate any real money for themselves in jails or prison. Ethos provides for them when they emerge back into society, taking all that immense negative pressure off. Let the ramifications of that sink in.
But why take care of them? They are criminals.
It's true that some criminals will always be criminals. And that's what prisons are for. But what about the rest? You see, the real problem is the vicious cycle felons can't get out of. Because they're felons, when they exit prison, their felony record immediately prevents them from becoming productive members of society. And that, no doubt, is why there's such a high rate of reoffenses. They have no money, can't get a decent job, can't get a decent place to live, that, and a lot more. All leading to depression, oppression, and a sense of helplessness and despair. That cycle absolutely needs to be broken, or the further injustice of a broken criminal justice system assures that prior criminals will remain criminals, and perhaps commit even worse crimes. Because they come to realize they have nothing, and therefore nothing to lose. And they have nothing precisely because the injustice system, and society, and lawmakers have largely done nothing to help them reform. What if there was a system that could fix all of that? Seriously provide a second chance at life. And now, there is.
Why do they matter so much? After all, they have hurt people, hurt society.
Again, prison isn't reform. It's incarceration. It's punishment, not correction. And not just that. It's big business. Somebody is making huge money off inmates. Huge. The average prisoner cost is upwards of $70,000 a year. 70,000. Depending on the state. Imagine that. And the impoverished taxpayers are paying for all of that. It's a massive burden. And what are we getting for our money? For the most part, certainly not reformed people exiting prison. Because again, it's not about that. It's about incarceration and profit for the politically connected. We can do better than that, but we haven't, because we the people aren't in control of the criminal justice system. The self-serving are. And that absolutely needs to change, in a huge way. And Ethos can go a long way to helping see that that happens.
That was very helpful. So let's talk about credit, which is something prisoners and the poor don't have, or don't have access to, or don't have a lot of.
Credit card debt sucks the lifeblood out of people and the economy. It's really meant to do one thing, and that is to enrich those who extend credit. It's easy money for them. They don't have to work for it. They just hand out credit cards and get a very high rate of return for money they themselves borrow at very low interest rates. As part of the initiative, Ethos virtually eliminates the credit problem. Simply because it gives you what you need, like money and necessities. The biosphere system creates balance. The outside world creates the opposite. Imbalance. The sad fact is, a lot of people have to use credit just to get the basics in life. And then get caught in the cycle of the 5 dangers of credit. And you know what those are? 1. Getting into credit card debt, which is then near impossible to get out of. 2. Missing credit card payments. 3. Carrying a balance and incurring heavy interest charges. 4. Applying for too many credit cards. 5. Using too much of their credit limit, which is usually why they apply for too many cards. The point is, all the interest paid on the cards amounts to far more than the money people got from the credit in the first place. Far more. And that is what impoverishes them and sucks out their lifeblood and the lifeblood out of the economy. Because now, that heavy interest money doesn't go out into the economy, enriching it and all of our lives. It goes into the hoarding pockets of the robber barons who issued the credit. But Ethos corrects this. You can get loans within the biosphere system. They're actually collateralized by the money you automatically save in the Guardian Vault Depository. That you also make a type of interest on, paying you to save. And you don't have to pay any interest on the loan money. So effectively, you're able to pay it off very quickly and painlessly. It's the perfect system. Because it's made for people, not for robber barons.
That sounds absolutely great. Where do I sign up?
We're really close to rolling out the system. I'll let you know when it's ready. We have to plan on the worst case scenario, which is actually the best case scenario. Which is that the system goes viral. Worldwide. Absolutely viral. And we have to make sure it can support the millions of people signing up. Daily. Imagine that. Millions. Daily. It's going to be really incredible. Historic. Absolutely historic. And isn't it great to be living in a time like this? Think about it. We have it better than the great kings of old. They didn't have the great food, the great entertainment we have, on demand. They didn't have instantaneous communication. They had to send someone out on a horse and wait weeks, or longer, for them to return with news. They didn't have dental or eye care. Didn't even have eyeglasses. They lived in cold, dank castles. We have it good. Really good. And it's high time we start appreciating it and protecting it. Ethos is the profound, revolutionary system that will help us to do just that.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. Godspeed to you and the Ethos system. That's all the time we have. Thank you for watching.